Alright, Vivisector here again, literally less than a minute later on my time, with To the End, or, you know, hopefully to the end, because I don't know if I'm actually going to get to the end, because it depends on viewer response, and I don't mean the response of the viewers, I mean response of the viewer, and whether or not I feel like I can get through this game, because I've actually beat it a number of times. I even have the original strategy guide somewhere upstairs. It's beat up all to hell, but it's still functional. So yeah, we're gonna continue. We're in the Mako reactor trying to blow it up. Oh, and here's my chance to talk about the battle system. So let me pause and point some things out. The music stops when you pause. That's always been there. So you can see on the left there's like name, cloud, Barret, and then barrier. Those, there are spells that you can cast, barrier and magic barrier. They protect against physical and magical damage. Those bars will display if you have a physical or magical barrier, and I think the strength of the barrier, or whether or not the barrier's there. I'd have to pay more attention. HP, obviously that's the amount of health I have. It's the amount of health I currently have out of the maximum health, and then there's the bar to represent it. The more red, the worse. Later Final Fantasy games after this just listed your current health, which honestly always annoyed me. But I didn't know my maximum health. I mean, it did turn yellow when your character's like really in danger, and red when they're dead. Red, dead, red, I can't make a joke. MP, that's your magical power, that's what you use to cast magic. For some reason, Cloud's MP isn't full, even though I haven't cast the spell with him. Maybe it's because he leveled up and it doesn't fill up when you level. Limit. So that is the limit break bar. So limit break is especially a super strong attack that replaces your physical attack. So you can't use a physical attack when your limit break is full. They replaced that in later games, so you could still use a physical attack. So essentially every time you get damaged, your characters get, you know, angry until they can break their limits and use a super special attack. Time. So this game isn't exactly turn-based. It uses a system that Square had been using at this point since the days of the Super Nintendo, called the active time battle system. So essentially, over amounts of real time, the character's time bar would fill up. Then they'd use an attack. It would take a certain amount of time until they executed it. And then based on what attack they used, it would affect the amount of time it took to increase again. And then also change based on stats and their status, like if they have haste or slow. The same thing counts with the enemies. So it's not exactly turn-based. And the thing about this system is it adds a bit more action-y feel to turn-based. So it can add a little bit more stress, but not so much that it totally ruins your experience battling. At least it doesn't ruin mine. Kind of like how real-time strategies, you know, because they're in real time, you play them differently than turn-based strategies, and you always feel a bit more stressed, but a bit more engaged as well. The thing about active time battle that some people don't like my little sister doesn't like that, say, if you don't know what to do and you're just fiddling around in the menus, your enemies are going to take their turns and you're going to get destroyed. Now, you can change some settings. For example, whenever it's on a menu, it waits. Or whenever you're, like, in a menu, like selecting, not just selecting should I use magic or attack, but, like, selecting which spell you're going to use. Yeah. So that's the active time battle system in the simplest explanation. There's more to it, but maybe I'll bring that up when it comes up, or maybe not. I don't know. So yeah, Barret can only use attack and item because he doesn't have any materia, which we'll talk about materia later. Cloud can use magic, so I can say I can cast an electrical spell on whatever the fuck this goddamn abomination is. Weird robot thing. Woo, now we do our victory dance. And gain experience points, and AP. So AP is like your experience points for your materia, which again I'll talk about later because I can't. Because this is one of my problems with the game, which we'll see shortly. I mean, it's something that's an easy fix, but it was 1997. Games had a lot of problems. I mean, a lot of people like to go like, 90s games are better, and it's like, do you remember having to deal with those goddamn awful UIs? I mean, sure, AAA games did experiment a lot more in the 90s, but at the same time, most of the time, those experiments ended up total shit. I don't think I'm gonna list any particular era of gaming as the best. Every era has its problems. I've played games from pretty much every era. I mean, hell, I have those original Zork games on my computer, the ones without any graphics. I still play those. And that's not even a childhood thing, I just bought those a few years ago because I think they're good. Okay, so see this little orb here? That's materia. So essentially, materia are these like spheres of like condensed energy or magic that you can equip into your players or your characters, you know, equipment, their weapons or their armor. And that can give them different spells, different abilities, like you could give them the ability to steal, or modifiers to their stats like HP up, or in fact sometimes, say, if we look at Cloud's equipment, we can see the Buster Sword has 2 materia slots that are connected, which means, say, we could equip the lightning materia, which does, you know, lightning damage, and then a blue materia, which is the all materia, so essentially that means that we could then cast Bolt on all the enemies. So when you have linked slots, you can essentially modify what you have equipped. And it's a really interesting system that I like, but there's a thing this game does. So we haven't had the tutorial on materia yet, so we can't do anything with it. So we picked up that restore materia, but I can't equip it, so we can't get cured, because I could put it on Barrett because he has an empty slot. Cloud doesn't have any empty slots, because since I can't mess with materia, I don't see that yet. And that annoys me. Also, the materia tutorial is awful. It confuses so many people, but I find out that if I'm introducing someone to this game, they'll see the materia tutorial and they'll go like, this system's too confusing, I don't get it. And I'll explain it to them and they're like, oh, that's way better than the tutorial, because the tutorial's ass, which hopefully they'll fix. Also, I'm going to change the character order, so say you can rearrange them, and you can also choose if they're on the front or the back. So characters in the front will deal more damage because they're closer to the enemy, but they'll also take more damage. Characters in the back will deal less damage but take less damage. However, since Barrett, you know, uses a gun which is attached to his arm, it makes sense. He doesn't get the damage penalty from being in the back row. So essentially, we can make him take less damage without affecting his damage output since he's a ranged character by putting him in the back. It could also make sense to say if you have a character that's mainly a healer, you could put them in the back, because you don't have to worry too much about the damage output, because it's crap anyways, and that's not the primary reason you have them. So yeah, let's do this, plant this bomb. Cloud has a flashback. Hunk of junk, great. Good thing you said that. So much slang. That's what a lot of 90s games did with localization. Although Final Fantasy VII honestly didn't get hit the hardest when it comes to localization. If you watched Pokemon back in the 90s, you'll probably remember some weird localization where they called, like, obviously rice balls. They called them donuts. Yeah, I guess in the 90s, America just was not okay with... Okay, we're fighting our first boss. With getting other cultures in their media, because they thought, oh, the kids would react like, oh no, this is a Japanese thing, oh, I don't want to see that, even though they wouldn't give a fuck. Which nowadays, you know, they're like, I'll leave all the Japanese stuff in, no one gives a fuck. Same with when we localize it from somewhere else. It leaves all the stuff in, no, not if we localize it in the UK, we leave all the Japanese stuff in, that would be weird. Why is there even Japanese stuff? Okay, Cloud's gonna get his limit break. So we're gonna use his super special attack. His first one, that is. Yeah, it does a lot more damage, don't it? Okay, but, yeah, about games with localization, sometimes the games got totally fucking ruined. So, when the original Persona was ported to the US in 1996, when they brought it here to be localized, ported is the wrong word, it was just totally scrapped. Characters' skin colors were changed, so they were more white. Characters' names were changed from the original Japanese names to, like, non-offensive American names. Like, the main character's name is, like... Okay, we need to pause, because I'm going to talk about this, but I want to talk about Persona first. They changed it to, like, Mark. They removed anything that was talking about that they were in Japan, because the game takes place in Tokyo. They removed a lot of the stuff talking about the fact that you were fighting demons. I don't think they removed everything, but a lot of the stuff. And any kind of cultural lore was removed. The dollar sign was changed to the yen sign. Essentially, the game's like unrecognizable narratively because they just totally scrapped it. I think they fixed it all on the PSP re-release that I happen to own. But yeah, games used to get totally just fucked coming over to the US. It's a lot different now. That also happened with games moving over to Japan from the US. From what I've heard, I don't hear as much of that since I don't live in Japan. And I don't play games that are in Japanese. Because because I'm not weeboo enough. Also, I don't know Japanese. So yeah, this isn't the worst offender by any means. It's actually pretty good for how a lot of games ended up getting ruined by localization. But yeah. So its tail is up, and we're going to talk about a bit of the localization here. And boss design. So, Barret, be careful. Attack while its tail's up. This is important because it just says that. It's going to counterattack with its laser. So essentially, like, if you attack when its tail's up, it's going to fucking blast you with a laser, which I could demonstrate here. But the problem is, since it says attack with its laser in one text block, I know that there are people who just attacked while its tail was up because they said attack while its tail's up. And they're like, oh, I should attack while its tail's up. Oh wait, no, definitely not do that. So now I'm wasting potions just to show you the tail laser and how much damage it did, so a lot of people got screwed over by that. It's also an interesting piece of boss design. I mean, it's not the best example of this, but I feel like bosses should really be a test for the player and mix up the way they play. And a lot of bosses in JRPGs are just huge enemies, but I like bosses that have like a little gimmick like that because that at least mixes up the gameplay a bit. Although I'd like it to be a bit more in-depth, but since this is kind of like the introduction boss, it doesn't even have the full boss music yet. You know, it's a start. I think the first Persona 4 boss did that as well. They just had a, oh, don't attack in this state. But later on, they introduced more complex mechanics for bosses. Oh no. It's gonna tail me. Only you could use that restore materia. No, oh, by the way, since I played before, I mean, the Steam version does have achievements, but I already unlocked some of them. Well, the achievements in this game are crap. Essentially, it's just like, complete this part of the story. Reach this level. Use a limit break. The achievements are bad, but the game wasn't originally built around achievements. They kind of just added them in the last minute to say, hey, this game has Steam achievements. So yeah, the AP I was talking about with the materia. Essentially, AP is the experience with the materia, because as the materia levels up, it can gain new spells or become more powerful. Hear these alarms. 10 minutes of detonation. That's not joking around. If you don't get out of here in 10 minutes, including battles and menus, place explodes, you lose. And that seems kind of harsh, and it did add a lot of stress to this, and as a kid it stressed me out. But now that I played it, I realized 10 minutes is really generous. There's this principle of game design where in the beginning of a game, you should make the player feel as if they're in danger. You know, so they're engaged in the game rather than being second boring tutorial town, which some games do. It's why I couldn't get through the original Mass Effect, even though I was actually interested in the story and stuff from that. Also, the combat system in that game is boring, but I found that was better in later Mass Effect games, which I still haven't gotten through that much. Oh, back attack. Yeah, sometimes they can attack you from behind. They get the initiative, and you get more damage, I think, when you're facing backwards. No? So that can happen. There can also be times where the enemy's facing backwards. But essentially, yeah, you need to make sure the player feels they're in danger, but have them not actually be in danger, because it's the tutorial area. They need to be able to experiment with what they're doing, figure out what's going on. So you want to make the player feel as if they're in serious danger without running the risk too much of them actually dying. But they shouldn't know that they're not in danger, because that kind of ruins the whole point. And so this is a good example of that. Not the best example at all, but it's, you know, a good example. Yeah, her leg is stuck. She's gonna jump over us because for some reason everyone in this game like took an acrobatics class. I don't know how that works. But yeah, and with Cloud it makes sense. He's a super soldier. He's been altered with Mako energy, which is the energy source in this game. It's the energy of the planet that these reactors are sucking out. It's the energy we use for materia. So essentially he's been infused with that. So he's more than human. So how he's able to do these crazy jumps, at least it makes sense for him, but for everyone else I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could train real hard. Okay, this section you have to talk to the right person to open the door. And so when you're going through your first time through, there's no way you're gonna guess that. You're just gonna be like, why can't I get through? No. And then you talk to people out of desperation. I don't really like that. I mean, I guess you could say it's a way to make the player feel like they're in further danger and add stress, But I don't know. I don't feel like I should ever be stuck somewhere because I feel like I have no idea what to do because the game's doing something unintuitive. Like being stumped on a hard puzzle because I'm trying to figure out, because I know what I'm supposed to do, I just can't exactly figure out how to do it. It's a bit different. But when you have no idea what to do and the game just has some random shit that it wants you to do, I'm not a fan of that. And a lot of 90s games did this. Not just RPGs, not just Japanese games. A ton of games in the 90s were bad with this. And hopefully that's something that will be fixed. Hopefully they'll go back and they'll reassess everything. Jesse, you got stuck and you fell down? Jeez. Yeah. 1997 CG explosions. Woo! Yeah. Voodoo voodoo. And now we're setting off a bomb in the explosion, I guess? I don't know what's happening here, honestly. Yeah, because we get out of here and then it explodes again. So we explode it and then we're like, yeah, let's explode it a second time. I don't get that. What good models? Yeah, if you saw them jump with the fence, you can't do that. Sometimes that's a problem in games, sometimes it's not. Like Alex Vance from Half-Life 2, she can do a lot of stuff the player can't do, but it's made clear that she's more acrobatic than the rest of the players. But in this game, it's made clear that Cloud is more acrobatic than the rest of the players. Yeah. That'd be like if you were in Mirror's Edge, and like the fucking dude who tells you what to do makes this like crazy jump that you can't. Except that maybe I don't know enough about the backstory about him. Let's talk to this flower girl who was in the opening cutscene, so she totally isn't a main character. Oh, we ain't gonna see her later. No, not at all. Gil is the currency in like every Final Fantasy game. In case you didn't know what Gil is by now. Actually, like a year ago I looked up on Wikipedia to see what Gil looks like, because in every Final Fantasy game I played, which is a lot, I've never seen it. Like, I played Final Fantasies 1 through 12, and I played 13, and the demo for 15, and Typo, and Tactics Advanced, and Tactics Advanced 2, and Dissidia, and Dissidia 012, and Theatrhythm, Curtain Call, and probably some other stuff. Played a lot of them. I have a lot of games, though. Okay, so here we talk more about the illusion of choice. You can fight these guys or run away, which it does give you the choice whether you fight them or run away. But this sequence here happens no matter what, because if you fight them, more show up and you run away automatically. And so no matter what, you get cornered here. And while it isn't necessarily a problem in game design, the thing is, it's not a very good illusion of choice. It's easily to be broken, especially if you go through multiple times. And you may be thinking, you know, why would a game want to give you choice when they can't? Well, a lot of games would like to give you all the choice in the world and have the game change because of that, but the problem is it's just too damn expensive to develop a game where everything changes based on your actions. Nobody knows how to do it in a way that's, like, actually possible. So in order to make you feel more invested, even though you don't have a ton of control over what happens in this game, they make you feel invested so that you actually get more attached than if you were to watch this or read it. It's a good game design trick. Again, that isn't the epitome of how to use that trick at all. There are way better examples. But yeah. Oh no, Barrett's angry. That is his character, angry. And there's a bit more to it, but yeah, essentially angry. I mean, the thing is, like, these characters, I guess, seemed unique to other video game characters who doing games that weren't that much story-based at the time. Now when you look back at it, they're pretty much JRPG cliches. And some of this is because games copied the character templates later on. But, you know, just because it was the trend, if it was the trendsetter, doesn't mean it necessarily holds up today. Oh no, Cloud lost money. Why do you guys have mouths? Why are they open all the time? No, his face isn't pitch black. I just saw it. Don't lie to me. Why is your mouth always open? Why? Can I go back this way? Is there something back here? No? Alright, forward it is. Jump into the camera. So, you fond of those menu colors as much as I am? Those text box colors? I think they're great. His hand is in his face. Don't know what to do, Barrett. Ah, you fuckhead. Oh, what? Is it because of my gravity-defying hair? Just because I'm a blonde unicorn? You think I'm gonna bother all the other passengers? Really making fun of the hair. Everyone's done that. I am not original at all. Just admit it. You don't get a choice. You have to look at it. You have to look at this. Yeah, Midgar is big. Exposition. Every RPG pretty much starts out slow because RPGs are very story-based. So they need to tell you a lot about the world and how to play the game. So a slow exposition-based start is par for the course. Especially if you're playing a Shin Megami Tensei game. Those games start out so slow. I mean, I like the Shin Megami Tensei games I've played, but Jesus. Except Jesus isn't... Wait, actually it's Shin Megami Tensei, so Jesus might show up somewhere. I don't know, I mean, in Persona 2, Hitler was the last boss. So, like, anything could happen in those games. If only they had PC releases, and then I could record those. I guess I could emulate them. Oh, I'll pay attention to these lines here. Well, I guess I'll read them here. If that plate weren't there, we could see the sky. A floating city. Pretty unsettling scenery. Usually a floating city is pretty whimsical. Huh? Never expect to hear that out of someone like you. You just full of surprises. The upper world. A city on a plate. It's because of that fucking pizza that people underneath are suffering. Yes, we refer to the plate as a pizza. This line is always in my memory because, especially as a little kid, I didn't understand that pizza was a metaphor. Because, you know, I played this when I was really little, so I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about with a pizza? Also, all these symbols here, they did that so they don't say fuck or other words like that. The SRB and such were not as lax about language as they are now. And this game wanted to get a T rating. If they said the word fuck, they'd probably get an M rating. I'm not sure if you get an M rating if you say fuck now. So they might still not say fuck, or they might just go for an M rating, because there's a lot of stuff that was in this game that probably isn't going to pass by the ESRB so easily. I don't actually know what kind of rating it's going to get. I don't know if they're going to censor content to get a T rating, which, like they did the first time. If they're going to go for an M rating, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, pizza. Beautiful, right? I make fun of every game I play, pretty much. It's just what I do. Boop boop boo. I'm not having a ton of commentary. I mean, the point of me uploading this is so that I put my commentary over there. Over here, over the game. Whatever words are. Look at all those washing machines. Good animations. It was a different time. And animation was actually a lot harder in the 90s than it was now. You know, computer animation. And even though mocap existed, it was pretty awful. When I saw this game recently, it had the best example of bad mocap I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of them. But there's this Goosebumps game that came out in the 90s, I think 1997, on the PC. Might have come out on other platforms as well. I watched in Summer Games Done Quick, SGDQ, somebody did a speed run of it where they beat it in half an hour and they didn't skip any of the cutscenes. I recommend go looking it up because if you want to see the worst cutscenes that have ever existed, or at least as far as I've seen a lot of them. Do look those up. They're an example of what happens when you try and use mocap, when mocap isn't a very good technology yet. Okay, let's talk to him. Well, if we're an eco-terrorist scared of explosions, we're not going very far. You know, with this and Oddworld, both games that were influential in my childhood and where you play as eco-terrorists, surprised I didn't think that was a morally okay thing. Good dialogue. Isn't there somewhere we could go to be alone? Wow! There's only the train graveyard around here, and they say there's ghosts around too. Damn. What? Yep, that's the conversation. Alright, let's take a sneak peek at the train graveyard. We'll be here later. Oh, I spoiled stuff. Oh, fuck, I didn't know you could get the battles here. Oh, let's just run. Let's run. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this yet. Oh, wait, these are just dogs who fight in the first area. Except they didn't happen to fight any dogs in the first area this time. But they are there. Guys, look at those ground textures. See all those scenes? This is not such stuff I point out in old games. I point out that stuff in new games, too. I'm just an awful person, okay? Get used to it. Bloop, 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 bloop. Status. Oh, see, here you can see that I have materia. See those green orbs? Those like ice and bolt materias there. I think the bolt one's actually called lightning materia, even though it's the bolt spell. But if I go to equip, not here. Interdasting. Let's talk to these guys. They are my friends. Are these guys like in fucking uniforms? You'd think they'd have more discipline than that working at Shinra. Let's talk to this guy who... Let's not comment on his animation. Oh. Oh. No. Oh! Oh, 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 oh! Sure you're not talking about another pillar? Eh? 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 I don't know. Foreshadowing, by the way. By the way, foreshadowing. By the way, foreshadowing. Like an English teacher. I don't want to come here. Oh, shut up. I need to save. By the way, I used to think this was like a rotating question mark or some shit, but I think it's supposed to be like a sideways, like a memory card at like a 45-degree angle. I think that's what they were going for. I could be wrong though with the save symbol. Yeah, it's gonna. Okay, I think that's it for this episode. I'm gonna end recording and immediately start recording again. I'll be back next time on episode 3 where we will hear one of the tracks in this game I don't like. So that will be fun. Also, arcade cabinet elevator.